Gorgeous day out here, that's for sure. How are y'all doing? I haven't done face cam style video here in a little while. I just got gum surgery, so see it's a little puffy and I talk a little weird. That's why. It reminds me of Ted 2 when they're putting the stuffing back. He says, I'm all fucked up.
When you sewed me up, you put some of the stuffing in the wrong places, so I'm a little fucked up.
Anyway, I wanted to do a breakdown of the 3 Emily's Bridge videos. At the time I'm recording this, only the first 2 are out. That third one should be out by the time y'all are seeing this. I'm really glad y'all seem to like it. It was a very interesting series to make. A lot of fun going out there with some buddies, trying something a bit new. As soon as we come up with some more ideas, we'll be back out there, try to get some answers. Check out these woods, guys. It's beautiful out here. You also see, I got a mic now. I hope it's actually recording. I think I did it right. Moving up in the world here. Let me get my notepad out. Oh, look at the deer. Right there. There's 2 of them. I'm going to try to get back by the old mill that's over there by way of the river. So we're going to see how that goes. I was talking with the landowner and he was saying due to a drought we've been in, the water's real low. So I was kind of curious to check that out. So I thought it'd be a fun video to, hey, go check out the mill and break down the last 3 videos. Alright, so the first thing I wrote down in my notes here was talking about the activity of the K2, from the K2 on the bridge. So that was in the first video. I'll chuck that up on screen if that was Emily. So I was just walking around in that scene just asking questions. And if you watch the 3 videos back to back, you'll see it's a trend. Whenever I bring up Emily or the energy that is pretending to be Emily, whatever it is, whenever I ask for it to, hey, demonstrate your power, usually when I've said power or show me what you can do, it does something like immediately. I thought that was curious. You said you'd have more power. Time for you to demonstrate that for me now. Other than that, not too much concrete happened on that video. Obviously, I thought there was a little bit of activity with the dowsing rods, but I'm skeptical when it comes to the dowsing rods. I'm somebody who definitely trusts more like, hey, these are physical results. Like I can see something, either I can see lights change or I can see something shift, and like I'm not dealing with it. That's why I like the K2, because I know I can't really affect that. But with the dowsing rods, it's very different. It's entirely me. So I'm not too, I don't put a lot of weight onto them right now, especially because I know they can work. That's how my parents found the well at our house, was from dowsing rods, and it obviously has worked for 20, 30 years. So I know there's truth to it. I don't trust my own skill at it yet. So look how beautiful this is, guys. Beautiful New England fall day. It's a little bit warmer today. I'm not crazy enough to wear a sleeveless if it was actually like fall temperatures. So I think that's most of what I got from the first video. There was one section that I'll put up on screen if I remember to do that. I had overlaid audio whenever the K2 went off. And this one section of overlaid audio happened, and on the screen, you didn't see anything. When I looked at the raw footage, there was absolutely like a light that went to orange or yellow, I don't remember. but when I moved it into the software, it didn't show it. Maybe it's just different frame rates between the softwares, I don't know. But if you caught that, at one point there was a noise that I put in where I knew that the light had come on, it just wasn't showing. So if you caught that, that's all that was. Other than that, I did want to clear that up as well. So one of the comments said like, oh, it's weird how the sound got disrupted every time that the light went off. That's me. That's my own editing. I do that to clarify when the light is going off, because sometimes it can be hard to tell, and it's helpful, at least when I've watched other people ghost hunting, it's helpful for me when, like, you don't just, it's not just a visual cue, but it's an audible cue too. So that's all that is. I just wanted to clarify that. All right, we're coming up to a big body of water, and man, yeah, it sure is low. Got some ducks. I hate when people do that. Even broken glass and garbage everywhere. If y'all ever come out to these public areas, I mean, look at all that garbage. Just clean that up. So anyway, while I have a beautiful background, I'll talk about the second thing. So in the second video, that was at the graveyard. That was a weird video, very weird video. I wasn't sure what to expect searching there. I was happy I brought my buddy Marshall with me, or else I think I would have spooked myself out way earlier than we actually left. So obviously, y'all have seen the same video I have, and I don't really know what to make of that. So I do have a new piece of equipment I got in. It's the Spirit Box, which I've had one. I've used it a few videos ago now, actually when I was at the old mill. And since then, on that first video, it broke. It wasn't working. And that's one of the things that is said to happen there is equipment breaks. When I was doing some digging, apparently it's very common with the type of Spirit Box I have to break in the way that it did. Essentially, there's a chip on it that transmits the radio frequency to the speaker, and that can come off the board because the motherboard flexes really easily. I just thought it was a really weird coincidence that I happened to see that when I was at a location where it's very common for equipment to break. I'm not going to say, hey, that's paranormal. That, I feel like that'd be kind of crazy just to make that claim, but I did think it was an interesting find. So that was the first thing that I wanted to talk about for that second video, is we will be bringing some more equipment out there at some point. I'd love to get like a REM pod out there. I think that would be really cool. Maybe do an Estes method with the Spirit Box out there. Essentially, for those who don't know, the Estes method is when you use the Spirit Box and somebody has the Spirit Box plugged in headphones, and you're wearing your headphones, and then you wear like a bandana around your eyes or close your eyes. And essentially what that does is that takes away the senses of the person listening to the Spirit Box. So any words that they hear from the Spirit Box that they're saying isn't influenced by the questions that your partner is saying. So say I was asking questions, I'd be like, hey, is anybody here? And I'd say Marshall's under the Estes method, he can't hear me or see me. He wouldn't know that I asked that, but he might say yes. He might hear that come through the Spirit Box. So essentially it's supposed to take out any of the bias that is normally associated with the Spirit Box, because you might say something and you're expecting a certain result. So when you hear something, you might kind of trick yourself into thinking, hey, that's what I heard. So it takes any of that uncertainty out. I will demonstrate, I can demonstrate up here, show you guys the K2 a little bit more. It was really weird that the orientation had to do with the different results we were getting. I'll chuck up a Google Maps screen of the graveyard. We were getting activity from the wall where the cars were parked about 20 feet forwards of the wall into the graveyard along the whole length of the wall. And that was in ratio with the height. So closer to the wall, it was higher. Further down from the wall, it was lower. That amount of consistency makes me believe it's underground utilities, although I wouldn't expect underground utilities, even like 480 power, to be read so strong, so far away from the source of the power by my K2 meter. And that was just unexpected. Maybe if somebody down in the comments is an electrician or an underground utility locator, maybe you can say like, oh, this is actually, that's normal. Let me know. Maybe the meter is just really sensitive. I don't really know. I'd love to go back there with some more equipment and see if we can find some more evidence. So now before I move on to the third video, I'm going to go back here and I'll show you guys the K2 to kind of describe. That's not normally what happens when we use the K2. Let me just get set up real quick. So this is the K2, and when it turns on, it looks like this. You can see, so there's always one green light on, and that's normal. And different orientations, it should always just be green, one green light, unless you bring up something, say, like my phone. So let me turn my phone on, and it should, there you go. It spikes frequencies depending on my phone. If I take my phone away, there's nothing. Put it closer, electromagnetic frequencies. In the second video, something you didn't see is at one point I was walking around the bridge and I noticed, wow, this is going off a lot. And I was holding it in my left hand. I always keep my phone in my left pocket. And I thought, that's why it's connecting to my phone. So there is a bit of a reach between my phone and this, if it's in the same pocket. And I don't remember where it was in that first video of Emily's Bridge when this went off. But the only reason I don't think that this was due to my phone was because it never went off again. It was only in that one particular point when I said, hey, can you show me what you can do? And that's when it happened. That's too much of a coincidence for me to say, I think that just happened to be my phone, because it would have gone off way more than that. That also goes to show I don't think that was the deal with this when we were at the graveyard, because it was so consistent. And you saw how much it was jumping around just here when I had it right next to my phone. It was jumping around a lot, and in the graveyard it was staying constant as long as it was in the right orientation. Let's see if I can get going down to the mill. I might turn you guys off and let you know when we make it back to the mill. Well, I made it down the river to the ruins. Can't see them. There's a wall there. Follow back, there's a wall there. And where unfortunately walls have collapsed over the years. That landowner is definitely right. It's just a small trickle instead of what's normally a raging waterfall. Normally where I am right now, there might even be some water spilling over. So that's pretty crazy. I'm going to try to get down to the ruins. Probably not through here, even though the water is not high. The rocks are still slick, so I'll probably go down and around and up. So I'll see you on the other side there. So I don't know if you can see them, but the deer are right there. Snuck up on them. There's still just the two of them. One's looking at me now. So here we are at the bottom of the falls. You can see that little trickle. Here's a close-up of the wall. You can see here the water would have come through here. You can actually see a middle bar right there, and it looks like a sprocket right under there, where maybe the wheel would have sat when the water came out this way. You can kind of see it channeled right here, right below it. Let me get you closer to that metal sprocket. I've never seen that before. I never really come up this close. Oh, it's not. It's just a piece of a tree. I thought that was where two deer might have meshed together or something. I lied to you. My bad. Man. Alright, let me get somewhere where this wall won't collapse on me. And then I'll break down that third video for you. There you go. There's a synopsis. It says, welcome to the remains of an old water-powered sawmill. Impressive, isn't it? Humbling in a way. If you're reading this, you're on private property. Please not tear the walls down. Aside from the senseless vandalism, there's real danger. The old wall's collapsing and hurting someone. That's why I moved from down there. Pick up your trash. It all comes down to the same thing we were just talking about earlier. Pick up your garbage. No sense leaving it out here. So we're actually in the old footprint, or the footprint of the old sawmill. You can see obviously remnants of wall, big remnant of wall, window, 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 window. The wall went all the way back here. It's a large mill. I don't have my metal detector with me here today. And man, I'd love to get out here. I mean, surface chunks of metal, probably the old roof. The wall seems to terminate right there. It doesn't look like it goes much beyond right there. Big structure. I'd say 50 feet long, maybe. So that's where the water would get channeled in. I don't know if they would have channeled the water from up there over to here. And that's where it would just flow out. I'm not too sure how they may have done it. But it looks like you can see where two floors were divided. There's like a lip with a moss on it where maybe they had laid some floor planks. Crazy. So anyway, I'm going to start breaking down the third video. It's a weird one. If you've seen that video, you're probably wondering why there's a lot of spots where I said, dude, I don't think anything's happening. But you're watching the video and you're like, dude, shit is happening right there. And that's something that was confusing me when I was editing it too. There's a lot that I missed while I was recording. The sound that Marshall heard that you can barely make out in the video. I had to play with the audio some to really make it stand out from the background noise, but you can barely make it out. And then when the EMF jumped his K2, Marshall's K2, I missed that. And then when I was walking around talking to the spirits, I didn't even notice that the K2 was going off in my hands. And I have zero recollection of that happening. When I was recording it, I couldn't help but think maybe somebody was trying to keep me from seeing what was going on, because obviously some energy was affecting our equipment and I wasn't able to see it. And I think maybe that was on purpose. I definitely think the people who showed up there at the end probably affected some of our results near the end, because not a lot happened when we were down below the bridge. And we were trying to really make it spooky. You know, we had the red light. We were, you know, trying to get in the zone. But when you have 4 people, young adults up above, making noise and acting crazy, like, there's definitely a part of me that says you have to be in like a right state of mind to ghost hunt. Put out the right energy, and we were not able to do that with that crew there. So I kind of blame that for the lack of results there at the end of the video. So I definitely like to go back at some point and redo some of those experiments. Fingers crossed with no people there. But other than that, it's just the fact that I missed so much that I don't really know how to explain. Because it's very obvious when I'm walking around that I'm having a conversation with somebody, and I didn't even know. I was getting answers the whole time. I didn't even know. At the very end, you can tell we're kind of discouraged. We're saying, like, didn't even get anything. So I thought that was really curious. Anyway, the last remark that I have is I had to go back and get some B-roll after the fact. It was a week or two later with another one of my buddies, Dom, from the podcast. He's the one who also told me about the Devil's Wash Bowl. So big shout out to Dom. Big shout out to Marshall too for joining me on that spooky adventure. Like I was saying, no way I would have lasted as long if I didn't have some company there. It was definitely spooky. So big shout out to both of you. But anyway, like I was saying, we're getting B-roll and we're at Emily's Bridge taking some photos, and a car had driven through, parked, and an old guy was talking to us from the car. And he says, you know, I've lived here for 30 years. I've written all these papers. I didn't catch the guy's name. He sounded like he knew what he was talking about. I also don't know if maybe he's just a crazy old guy. I don't really know. But anyway, he said the bridge that we were at, Goldbrook Bridge, is not actually Emily's Bridge. Emily's Bridge has been taken down and it's now a concrete bridge a little ways away from the Goldbrook Bridge where we were. I don't know how true that is. I've done a little bit of digging and I did find a bridge that matched what he was saying, but it was definitely a different bridge. It was not Emily's Bridge. He was saying that Emily's Bridge had been removed and a concrete bridge placed in its place. And I found a bridge that matched that description, but it was very clearly not Emily's Bridge, at least from the sources that I was looking at. I'd have to do a little bit more digging, maybe talk with the town to really get some more information on it. But everywhere I look says Goldbrook Bridge is Emily's Bridge. So I'd have to do a little bit more digging. Like I said, talk with the town. Maybe that'd make a good addition to the series. Do a little bit of digging into that. But again, thank you all so much for the support and the love on this series. It's not the end, but I knew I just had to make a breakdown of the series so far because it's been interesting, to say the least. If you have any ideas of where you'd like me to visit, shoot them down in the comments below. leave a like, subscribe, all that bullshit. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video.